Good evening, Northern Colorado. This is Ron, K0AZA. I'm located in Fort Collins, and I'll be net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the TechNets is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We'll do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of all those who are listening. This net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We'll acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you're clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. NCARC club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation, and no checkout is required. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location. When checking in, please state if you have a topic you'd like to discuss. Check-ins will be taken in groups of 3. When I've acknowledged the first group of 3, I'll move on to the next group. I'll start by taking check-ins from Echolink. Anyone on Echolink, call now. Okay, let's take check-ins from call suffixes Alpha through Mike. Alpha through Mike, please call now. Again, with your call sign phonetically, and your name and where you're located. Alpha through Mike, first group of 3, go ahead now.
K0MLG, Kilo 0, Mike, Lima Golf, Marty. I'm located in the great state of shock. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Dan0BNK, November 0, Bravo, November Kilo, Rick in LaPorte.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf Quebec Hotel, KF0GQH, Kent in Wellington.
Okay, let's hold up there. The net acknowledges K0MLG, N0BNK, and KF0GQH. And Marty, we're going to let you go first because we want to hear why you're in a state of shock. Next group of 3, go now.
Good evening. Is K0HAK, Kilo 0, Hotel Alpha Kilo, Dave in Fort Collins.
W0LEI, Whiskey 0, Lima Echo, India, Chad in Stout.
With WA7EM, Whiskey Alpha 7, Echo Mike, Ed and Erie.
Okay, let's hold up there. The net acknowledges K0HAK, W0LEI, and WA7EM. Next group of 3, Alpha through Mike, go now. We had a perfect double and nobody won. Let's try that again. Somebody go first.
Okay, I'll go first. K0ARD, Kilo 0 Alpha Romeo Delta, Ann in Fort Collins.
AF7MO Alpha Foxtrot 7, Mike Oscar, Roger in Windsor.
Okay, the net acknowledges K0ARD and AF7MO. Let's open it up to all check-ins, Alpha through Zulu. Alpha through Zulu, go now.
This is KD0TYU, Kilo Delta 0, Tango Yankee Uniform Joe in Loveland, and I do have a topic.
Yes. 29BTZ, Whiskey Niner Bravo Papa Zulu, and I do have a question. Don in Fort Collins.
This is KB0YDN, Kilo Bravo 0, Yankee Delta November, Eric, Pinewood Lake. No topic.
Okay, the net acknowledges KD0TYU, W9BPZ, and KB0YDN. Next group of 3, go now.
This is N0, NYY, November 0, November Yankee, Bart, in Evans, Whip, N0, QXQ, November 0, Quebec, X-ray Quebec, Gene, and I do have an announcement.
This is, or could be,
KF0 ODD, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Oscar Delta Delta, Paul from Berthoud. Just one quick thing at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, the net acknowledges N0NYY, N0QXQ, and KF0ODD. Next group of 3, go now.
This is N0EMP, November 0, Echo Mike Papa, Greg in Fort Collins, with Debbie, K0DB, Kilo 0, Delta Bravo Echo, no traffic.
Yes. Kilo Echo 0, Charlie Whiskey Mike, J, Fort Collins. Curious about any interference on the 700 Buckhorn.
Okay, the net acknowledges N0EMP, K0DBE, and KE0CWM. And Jay will get back to you on that. Next group of 3, go now.
Sorry, doubled. This is AE0CF, Alpha, Echo 0, Charlie, Foxtrot, Ben, Fort Collins.
Okay, the net acknowledges AE0CF, and we'll go ahead and circle back around and take more check-ins here in a bit. And because I haven't said it in a while, this is K0AZA, net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. Jay, KE0CWM, did you say you were experiencing interference on the 700 Buckhorn?
Thanks. Yes, sir. Intermittently, here and there, notice a bunch of, it's almost like a bunch of dead keys. However, the machine gives its call repeatedly, out of whack. Something's wrong, and I don't know if anybody else has heard that. I haven't been on the radio for some time, and that may have been something that's already been discussed.
Anybody else experience any of that? Well, I've got it up on the other side of my radio here, Jay. I'll kind of keep half an ear on it, see what we hear. Marty, K0MLG, please tell us why you're in a state of shock.
Oh, just something to perk everybody's ears up. That statement came from Don Rich back in 1960-something when he played for Buck Owens and the Buckaroos. They were at Carnegie Hall, and they were talking about where all the band members were from. And when Bucko got to Don, asked him where he was, and he said, "I'm in, what state are you from?" He said, "I'm from the great state of shock."
Yeah, that's a good one. Hey, and Marty, while you have the floor, would you be interested in maybe taking a minute and just updating everyone on what's gone on with NOCO Santa Squad? It's pretty neat.
I'd be more than happy to. A year ago, I and 3 other people formed a nonprofit called NOCO Santa Squad. And I got the idea when Santa Cops of Larimer County dissolved after 34 years, and I had been holding toy drives and Christmas parties in my own shop out here at the farm for the last 3 years, and with Santa Cops being the beneficiary except for 23 break. Anyway, I'll shorten this up. I saw what Weld Elves does, and they have a great operation, so I decided to start my own organization. So it was Jim, K6ETE, and Justin, N0AOL, and then a friend of mine that's like a sister to me, fellow veteran. We formed it, and this year we provided gifts to 1,000 kids and 330 addresses. And that's just 4 board members, an ambassador, Sean, KC0SIQ, and another friend who I actually know through Brad, AE0KO. A lot of hams in this story, isn't there? Never thought about it until I started reading everybody's names and calls off. There's quite a bit of hams that made this come together. It's totally amazing. So yeah, we have a warehouse in Loveland at the basement of Rocky Mountain Sharp Shop. So if you ever need knives, anything sharpened, basically, 118 East 7th. He provides our warehouse free of charge, and we only have about 2,000 usable square feet, and we still were able to provide that many gifts, mainly Larimer County, but we did venture off into Weld County a little bit with a few addresses over there. So we're always looking for volunteers. We will have a booth or table at the Ham Fest, so we do take cash donations. We have Venmo, we have QR codes, we have a website, and I'll give you that. Grab your pencil. www.NOCO, that's November Oscar, Charlie Oscar, Santa Squad, Sierra Quebec Uniform Alpha Delta .org, NOCOSantaSquad.org. For you people on Facebook, NOCO Santa Squad, Instagram, NOCO Santa Squad. Look us up. We're always looking for volunteers and donors, and yeah, everybody have a Merry Christmas from our family to yours. K0MLG.
Well, Marty, that's fantastic that you were able to make merrier Christmases for 1,000 kids. Makes me feel good. Thank you so much for doing that. KD0TYU, Joe, you are next on the list. You had a topic.
Thanks, Ron, for taking the net. This is KD0TYU. A few of you know that I've been having a little bit of trouble with noise in this shack. Okay, I have a pretty nice system, I think. Well, I guess it's as good as any. I have a Yaesu FTDX 1200, which I've had forever. Radio works fine. About 6 months ago, I started fooling around with a brand new amp that I had. It's an it's a Meritron A11 8. I'm sorry, a Meritron A11 8 HD, which means it's got about 800 to 900 watts, and it uses 4 572 tubes. So let this drop. For those familiar with the amplifier, the 811 is actually what it originally had. I purchased this directly from MFJ, those guys down there, and they recommended putting 572 tubes. It's a direct replacement. Any time you're using a tube amplifier, the 811 is stretched a bunch, whether you're using 3 tubes or 4 tubes. It's right on the edge. Well, anyway, every time I turn that thing on, about 35 watts into the thing, and I get about 500 out of it. And lo and behold, I use Ham Radio Deluxe. Ham Radio Deluxe would drop out. That's not good. I'll let this drop again. So I talked to James about it, and we tried something, and I called Palomar. If you're not familiar with them, they make great ferrites and stuff like that, and we talked to those guys, and they sold me some stuff, and that didn't work. So James lent me a, oh shoot, I can't think what, oh yeah, 1-to-1 choke, which I put outside, and it did nothing. Every time I'd cue it up, boom, she'd do it. Well, we went to the meeting on Saturday, and he gave me something that really did work. Let this drop. I know the suspense is killing you. He gave me a little bitty, it looked like a jump drive, and I said, well, what am I going to do with this jump drive? He says, it's not a jump drive. He says, it's a USB isolator. I says, okay. He says, your problem is you're getting it right at the USB ports. And I said, yeah, I realize that, but I don't know how to do it. He said, try this. Believe it or not, DigiRid makes this. They make it in Grand Junction. I ordered one today because his worked. I plugged it in, and I've done everything. I pumped that sucker up to 800-900 watts. Nothing. It just sits there. And if anybody's having some noise problems, and they've tried the ferrites and they tried this, for $19.95, this is really worth the deal. You could actually get it on Amazon for I think $24. And of course, you got to pay shipping when you all this rest of the stuff. It's about the same either way. But I had never seen anything like that. It perfectly cured it. And I have struggled with this for weeks. I mean, literally weeks. I've tried everything. I've taken every coax down and double-checked it, triple-checked it, ran it through meter, everything looked good, and I could not find this thing. I have tore this place apart, and I finally, what it is, this USB isolator for a lousy $20, plug it in, and it worked. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Back to you, Ron.
Yeah, that's interesting, Joe. Who'd have thunk it? That would have been the last thing that would have come to my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Rob Stubbe about it. I talked to Rick Kyle about it, and James, of course. We're all sitting there at the LRA meeting. And they say it's got to be stuff that's coming in from outside. And I said, well, that's what I thought. It seems like it's RF. Well, it still might be RF, but the problem of it is it's not coming into where you think it is, because every cable I've got going into this computer, including I tore it all down and just put that one cable into it, and it dropped out. But the minute I put this isolator on, it went away.
Interesting. Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Joe before we move on?
MLG.
Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, Joe, I missed the name of that. And while it got rid of that noise floor for you, were you able to compare good received signals, radio signals? Did that also drop down your received signals?
That particular thing couldn't do that because it's actually set up right with the USB, which goes right into the computer itself. However, I had thrown so many ferrites on this sucker that I've got probably $150 to $200 worth of ferrites laying on this thing. I've got a roll of probably 12 foot of cable wound up in a coil in here. Plus, I have that one-to-one choke out there. So that does help when you put all that stuff into it. But it's made by DigiRig. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They make one heck of a nice sound card thing. They're out of Grand Junction, and it's called a USB isolator.
Okay. Appreciate the info, K0MLG.
One thing I've got to say about the owner of DigiRig, I've never really physically talked to him, but I've sent him so many emails. When we were having trouble with Paul's little thing over there at Red Cross, we were sending notes back and forth trying to figure out how to make that that walks-on talk to things that it shouldn't be talking to. But between him and I, we got the thing actually more him than me. So if you have any issues or anything like that, I do support these guys, and they're really good people. And like I say, it's local.
Okay, thank you for that information, Joe. Appreciate it. W9BPZ, Don, you had a question for the group.
Yeah, I had a repeater question. I'm wondering if anybody has had any experience with the 447.800 repeater that's up on Milner Mountain. It's Yaesu C4FM, and that's, as far as I know, that's the only repeater here in Fort Collins that I can actually get onto the Sky-Hub link with, and I used to be able to get onto it. And now it barely picks me up at all, whether I'm handheld or mobile. And I'm just wondering if anybody else has had any trouble with that repeater, or if anybody has even used it, or if there's another way to get onto a Sky-Hub link from Fort Collins. W9BP said, over.
I can partially answer that for you. I haven't been on the 447-800 in months, so I don't know how well it works or if it is still working. The Sky-Hub Link website shows it to be on air still. They do have an analog repeater up on Buckhorn. It's 448-400, 103.5 tone negative offset. And I've used that one on and off some, again, not in the past couple of months, but if you can go analog to Buckhorn, it works pretty well.
Yeah, as far as Buckhorn goes, I think you got to be out farther on the plains in order to hit it. Whenever I try to use it, people say my signal's barely readable. But I'm just wondering if what experience anybody else out there may have had with the 447-800. I've talked to Jack, KE0VH, who that volunteer that works on it, and he's actually, I went up there with him one day and we took a look at the unit to see the antenna, and some ice had fallen on the feeder line, and we kind of straightened that out. But I think there's something wrong with it. But Jack thinks it's just my radio. So I was hoping somebody else might have some insight onto it, and the next time I talk to Jack, I can say, yeah, some other folks are having trouble with that as well. But anyhow, W9BPZ, over.
Anybody else out there use the 447-800? Well, it doesn't sound like it. Maybe coming up empty-handed on that one. Did you have any other questions for us, Don?
Well, yes, actually I have a completely different question, and that's on the pros and cons of stringing an HF antenna in the trees. So I have a couple of antennas. One is inverted L, runs up the side of the house and then diagonally down across the yard to a fence, and then I also have an antenna that runs along the top of a fence about 5 feet above the ground. But I haven't put any antennas in the trees. I always thought it was a bad idea to have your antenna actually suspended from a tree. So I'd like to know what people might have to say on the pros and cons of hanging your antenna from the trees. W9BPZ, over.
WA7EM.
Go ahead.
Well, my favorite HF antenna is sort of a dipole fed with open wire, sort of an inverted V. Not a lot of, the ends are not down at the ground. They're up 20 feet or at least 10. But the center is on a tree in the backyard, and it took some doing to get a rope strung around a high branch on that tree, but I'm quite happy with it. I think in the summer when it's leaved out, the leaves have a little bit of a effect on performance. I also had a 2-meter 440 vertical hung in a tree, and I think when it was leafed out in the peak of the summer, I think performance went down because when I moved it away a little bit from the tree, performance improved. So it may be VHF, UHF that leaves on a tree consume some of your signal, but an HF, I think a tree's a great thing.
I guess one question I might have is about the lightning hazard. Are you concerned about increasing your risk to lightning exposure by putting your antenna in a tree? W9BPZ, over.
Well, yeah. If you've got a gigantic tree, the tallest thing anywhere near where you are, then that tree is at risk of being hit by lightning. My trees aren't that tall. But yeah, if you've got a gigantic tree, lightning is something you might think about, and might want to use a lightning arrestor on your feed line.
Oh yeah, roger that on the lightning arrestor, and I do use them on all of my feed lines. But the disclaimer with the lightning arresters, they say that it's not valid for a direct lightning strike. So I don't know if there's a better type of lightning arrestor that you could use that it would be good for a lightning strike. I know what they say on forgetting the brand name of the one I got. It's one of the best. But they say, well, this is for lightning-induced surges, but if there's a direct strike, it won't protect you. And of course, if my antenna's up in a tree and the tree gets hit, probably that part of that strike is going to come straight down the antenna and try to get into my shack. W9BTZ, over.
Well, there's no great solution except disconnect your antenna, and I know that's not always practical. Yeah, if you've got the tallest tree in the whole, for blocks around, then it's something to think about. WA7EM.
Thanks for that, Ed. Anybody else have anything for Don?
NYY.
Go ahead, Bart.
I hate to be a complainer, but Don, your audio is about 10% of everybody else on the repeater this evening. If there's anything you can do to turn up your mic gain, get closer to your mic. I'm a little hard of hearing, and I have hearing aids, and I have this radio turned up as far as it'll go, and I cannot understand you because your audio is just too light for me to pick up the consonants. Again, hate to be a complainer, but we are all about communications, and that low level of audio makes it really difficult for me. I'm zeroing my line.
Okay, Bart. Thanks for the input, and I'll try talking a little louder. Let me know if this is helping or if I need to do something else.
Dramatically better. Thank you very much, and zeroing my line.
Yeah, Bart, thank you very much for the complaint, and I'll try to do better in the future. W9BTZ, over.
This is K0AZA, net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. Anybody else have any other input on HF antennas for Dawn before we move on? Yeah, okay, Bart, since your microphone is still warm, you had an announcement for us.
I actually have two now, and thank you. I think it was Don about the issues with the repeaters. I want to make sure you're aware that we have a extremely skilled technical group, and if you have issues with any of the NCARC repeaters, I suggest sending an email to techfeedback, Tango, Echo, Charlie, Hotel, Foxtrot, Echo, Echo, Delta, Bravo, Alpha, Charlie, Kilo, techfeedback at ncarc.net, I think it is. Anyway, you would see that listed on the website as well. Send them an email. Be sure and tell them what repeater, what time, what day, where you were, and what you heard. Describe it in your best detail. And they have been phenomenal at getting issues with repeaters resolved. Let me take a short break. And this Wednesday would normally be the lunch at Perkins in Loveland, but as it is Christmas Day and they will be closed, we're not going to have it this Wednesday, at least not at Perkins. If someone wants to get together on that day and have lunch, get on the repeater, make an announcement. You might be able to find people that want to go. But we will resume 2 Wednesdays away, and that's at 11:30 at Perkins in Loveland, 2222 West Eisenhower. Again, not this Wednesday, but 2 Wednesdays from this Wednesday we will resume. And zeroing my way back to net.
Thank you, Bart. KF0ODD, Paul, you had something for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an announcement that we still have items for sale for the Silent Key, and they're available to view on the webpage, NCARC webpage. I'm also going to try and have those items available during the HAMFest. That's all I got. KF0ODD.
Any questions about the items for sale for Paul before we move on? Okay, let's take late check-ins. Any late check-ins, please call in now with your call sign, both phonetic and standard, and your name and where you're located.
W5VV, 55 Victor Victor, Bill in Livermore.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Does anybody else have any additional comments, questions, or other discussion before we close the net this evening? Hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a total of 20 check-ins tonight. This net will occur again next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is K0AZA closing the net at 18:39 and returning the repeater to normal operation 73, and a Merry Christmas to everybody.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.